Hello and welcome to this webinar on the automatic dimension tools inside of the PowerPack for Revit. Okay, a little bit of an introduction to myself for those of you that don't know me. My name's Simon Dickinson. I'm a BIM technical manager for GRAITEC in the UK. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me or join me on LinkedIn. I've been with GRAITEC MicroCAD now for 19 years. I've been pretty much an advocate of BIM now for 18 years, and I've been using Revit for nearly 20 years now. I'm an Autodesk certified professional, and I'm also an Autodesk certified instructor. Okay, a little bit about GRAITEC. We are 30 plus years old now. We were started in Paris, in France, and we've always been in the construction industry. Started out mainly as a structural company, but have obviously then expanded out into the rest of the AEC market. We are worldwide. As you can see, we've got 11 countries, 48 offices across them. We are constantly growing. Yeah, we are a very strong company. We are constantly expanding, and we are expanding the business as much as we can during these times as well. 550 staff in total. 100 of them are actually our R&D centre in Romania, which is actually where the PowerPack is actually developed, along with some of our other products as well. Okay, we are predominantly technically focused. So obviously we have a sales team, but we are very much dedicated to our technical resources and the people that can help you guys. We are very customer centric. You know, customer comes first. We've worked on millions of projects using our software worldwide. You know, we very much look to our customers as being our key people, and we deliver through over 3,500 training courses every year as a team. We have 4 pillars to GRAITEC. Basically, we have the create, simulate, fabricate, and manage, and we try to create products which fit into there. So obviously, from a create point of view, you know, from a BIM workflow using the Autodesk products, but then enhanced with the GRAITEC PowerPacks, in particular the Revit PowerPack that we're looking at the functionality from today. From a simulate point of view, we actually have our own simulation software for things such as structural analysis using advanced design. And there are direct workflows between the software in the create pillar. So the create software will link to the simulate software, and also with the fabricate software as well. So we have our own fabrication software, which will take our designs through to the fabrication and then obviously delivery to site. And then from a managed point of view, we have our own document management system, OpenTree, which then complements things such as other CDEs, such as BIM 360, etc. Okay, so let's have a look at these dimensioning tools that we have inside of our PowerPack. Okay, these are incredibly good productivity tools. These are tools which will help us to dimension faster. It helps us to fix issues that we may have because of the way we've dimensioned. You know, we may dimension some elements, but then we add additional elements into the project, and then the dimensions from them need to be added into strings, etc. So we've got some really cool tools in there. So the main ones we're looking at today, we've got the auto dimensioning tool, we've got the quick dimension tool, we've got the join dimension tool, and the one that's grayed out there at the moment, which is the level dimension tool. And the reason it's grayed out is because I'm currently in a 3D view in that model. And what we need to be in for that to be activated is a section or elevation view. Okay. So the quick dimension tool will actually allow us to convert detailed lines. So we can draw a detailed line through the objects that we want to be dimensioned. We simply click on the quick dimension, select the detail line that we've used, and that will automatically then create our dimensions for us. Again, it's a really quick way, rather than having to click on each point, quickly draw a line, 2 clicks, click on the tool, and away we go. very useful for multiple elements just with the use of a line. The next one we'll look at is the level dimensions. And I mentioned that you need to be in an elevation for this, but this will then allow us to put different styles of annotation into our model to show various different elevation information regarding the levels within our views. The auto dimension, one of my favorites, is highly customizable. We've got this customization window here, which allows us to customize the dimension style that we want to use, which dimensions we want to place. As you can see there, there's dimensions numbered 1 to 5. You can have every single one of them dimensions actually set up, like the overall dimension, the opening dimensions, intersecting wall dimension, or we can turn them on and off. So it's up to you which ones you want to use. But this is a really powerful tool. You know, if you're a regular Revit user, you know you've got the dimension wall tool. This sort of works in a similar fashion, but it's got some little tweaks in there that actually makes it even better. And I'll show you what I mean by that shortly. Okay, the next one we've got is the join dimension tool. So this is really useful for where, you know, you might have dimensioned things individually. We want to link them together so that we can control them. You know, the amount of times I've done dimensions and I've gone to use the equality constraint, and I can't because they're separate dimensions. They might look like a continuous string of dimensions, but they're not. And by using this, we can actually fix problems like that in there as well. So, you know, there's some really, really nice just flows in the way that these tools work. Okay, so let's pop over into here and let's have a look at how this all works. Okay, so when you install the PowerPack will install the PowerPack ribbon. We have developed over 70 tools now within the PowerPack, and it's getting expanded every year. So there's more and more features and more functionality being added in with every release. Okay, if you are using the PowerPack, that we had there's a service pack released ever so often, so do check that you are running the current and most up-to-date version of the PowerPack, because you know this bug fixes are put into that, and a few new tools occasionally as well. Okay, so the dimensioning tools sit under the annotation category. As you see here, there's a lot of tools. If I wanted to make this a little bit easy to see, we can come over here and we do have the ability to turn on and off. So if I am only interested in the annotation tools, I can just go to annotation, and as you can see now it has changed that. Okay, so now my dimension tools are actually in here. So that's a really nice quick way of just segregating out certain features that we might want to, you know, to control, and we can come back in and we can turn them all on as well. As well as being able to turn on and off the individual sections and just have certain sections highlighted, which is a good one for speed. What we can also do is, if I go to this PowerPack drop down here and we go to the PowerPack customization, within here I can actually customize the icons that appear. So if you find there's certain functionality that you don't need and you're not really required, then you know we can make the bar a little bit simpler and we can reduce some of them elements by simply coming in and turning on and off the functionality that we want and what we don't want. We can turn off an entire section, so I could turn off the whole of the BIM Connect section, or I could just turn off individual functions within that section. Okay, so again, quite a powerful tool. So let's come in and have a look at, say, the different dimensioning tools. Okay, now the first thing to note that within our annotation section we have got a little diagonal arrow, just as with all the other sections of Revit. Even if you're using sort of structural settings, the mechanical settings, this will take us into the settings for our annotations. So in here we've got the auto dimension, and as I said before, we can turn on and off different levels of dimension. So if I didn't want to dimension the structural dimensions, the openings, the external geometry, the grid dimensions, I can turn them on and off and it won't generate that information there. We can also specify here the dimension style that we want to use. So, you may have particular dimension styles that you want to use, some with tick marks, some with arrows, depending on your discipline, depending on your internal standards. We can make sure that he's actually using the correct dimension style and the correct size as well. We also have the distance between the lines as well. So this is an annotation setting. So this is your printed, so 10mm spacing between each of these lines. So we can start to adjust that according to the view. Sometimes you might need to change that even according to the view scale that your views are actually at as well. Here's our quick dimensions and the things that we can actually dimension. So the elements, that it's going to dimension between. So this is where we can draw a line, and we'll look at this in a second. We can draw a detailed line. We can click it to do a quick dimension, but we could tell it to ignore certain features or certain categories that we don't actually want it to pick up. So we've got a lot of control in there. And again, we've got access in here, look, to the dimensions that we use in plan and the dimensions for side view. So basically elevations, sections, etc. Join dimension. We can even use this to change the dimension styles, where maybe we've got multiple dimension styles in there. We can join them all together and we can preset a particular dimension style we want. We've got access in here to the tags and symbols. This is related to one of the other tools that's actually within the annotation pack with our tags. And then we've got the level dimension as well. So the level dimension is going to put in here a spot dimension, and you can choose which one of them you wish to use. So we can have that as the project dimensions, or we could set it to the relative one as well. So there's a lot of settings in there, as you can see, that we can actually change. So back into here. Okay, and let's have a look at the auto. Let's start in this corner and look at the auto dimension. So I'm going to choose the auto dimension. Now, if I actually just escape that a second, if I went to do just a normal dimension, one of the things we can do is we can basically tell it to pick an entire wall, okay? And I could then quite easily click on that wall and place the dimension. The problem is, what happens if I need to click on two walls like that one as well? Yeah, I can do that, but that is now a different dimension string, okay? If I come into the PowerPack, and let's just go to the auto dimension, what I can do now is I can select multiple elements. I don't need to press Control. I just literally select the elements that I want to be included. And once I've done that, I click Finish. I then set a base point for the dimension and then the placement point. And then the dimension tool will go away and dimension everything, okay? Depending on the level of detail, so the structural opens, etc., depends on the grid lines and the internal walls that it's actually going to dimension. And this is the reason why we have the ability to turn these elements on and off. Set that to 1 to 50, just to make that clearer to read, okay? So very quick and very easy to add a whole host of dimensions in as well, okay? It's even there when I press tab, we've even got the angular dimension in there as well. Okay. So that is the auto dimension, and we could do it on any element. You could actually do it, if you need to be linear elements, you couldn't sort of select a wall over here and then a wall over there and expect the dimensions to appear there. So they do need to be linear objects that we want to put a dimension string in. The quick dimension, let's add some columns in. Let's set them to a height, might help, so we can actually see what's going on. So what I can do, just go to my annotate, use a detailed line, or DL for short, and I'm just going to put a line through them objects. And I'll go back to my PowerPack, into here, quick dimension, select the line. I can select multiple lines, it doesn't have to be one, so I could have multiple lines around in different places. Hit finish, and it will then generate my dimension string, and of course I could always just pull that out a little bit, okay? So again, a very quick tool. And if you imagine if you've got lots of different linear items that you want to dimension, we can put multiple lines in through multiple objects and use a quick dimension to select multiple detailed lines at the same time. Hit finish and it will turn all them detailed lines into dimensions, and it deletes the original detail line out of the way as well, so it doesn't leave that underneath and you're not having to delete it afterwards. Okay, if let's just go to let's put a section in. So here we have a section. In fact, let's go to a main elevation. Here we go. So here's our levels. So now if I come into here, you'll notice that the level dimension is available. Okay. So we select the level dimension. I select a point where I want the annotation to go, and then it will generate this annotation. So rather than having to do the spot elevation each time, it's basically sticking them in all in one go based on our levels. So again, you know, depending on how the building is, whether that's going to be the project or the survey point, we can adjust that based on the tag. Yeah, so it's based on the tag and the way that tag is actually configured to work. Let's go back into here and let's start to put some sort of manual dimensions in. So let's just go, turn that back to individual. So, you know, I might want to put in dimension between there, and we'll just place that one. Then I might want a dimension between there and there. Oh, it's gone back to entire wall. Didn't want that, so let's put another one in that wall section, stick it there. Let's dimension this wall section, put it there, and we'll just dimension that one and put it there. Okay, so I've now got these 4 dimensions all looking incredibly untidy. Let's delete that section. Okay, so what we can do with the final tool in there, which is this join dimension, yeah, is I want to join all the dimensions together. So what we do, we come in, join dimension, select all of the dimensions, and again, it's just asking me to click on them. I don't have to use Control key to do that. And then once I've done that, I hit finish, okay? And then that will ask me to select the base dimension, and it will then create a single dimension string. It will fill in the gaps where anything is missing, and it uses the first dimension that I clicked on, as in the final one to click as the base dimension, to specify the positioning for the remaining dimensions. And again, it's really useful tools from a production working environment where we might have these issues and we're trying to add additional information. You know, obviously I can't use the EQ because I've got the windows in there, but you know, if we just delete that dimension, you know, and we get this a lot. If I wanted to do this, yeah, and then someone had gone, you know, we might have added an extra window in. So if we come back in and do a there to that wall, okay, and we want to then create them again. So let's just go back in because I want to use the equality. Now I can use the equality there, but I want to use the equality across the whole. Then I can come in. Let's just join the dimensions. That one and that one. Finish. Specify there. Now select that, and I could force them to be equally spaced across the wall, rather than having to, you know, if I've got lots of windows, I might not want to have to delete the dimension and start again. Another little interesting function that we do have that was added into Revit a couple of years ago, which not many people are aware of, is if you do have a string of dimensions as well, it's a little tip, is if you actually tab use the tab key, we can now select individual sections of a dimension and you can actually delete them. So as well as being able to join the dimensions, a function that's actually native to Revit now will actually allow us to delete segments as well, something that we couldn't do a few years ago that was added in. So the dimensioning tools are really neat, really quick, really easy to use, and there's some great functionality within them. As mentioned before, we've got 70 plus tools in there, and a lot of these tools, the ideas come from our customers. It's not something that we just go, oh, wouldn't it be nice if it did that. You know, we're always looking for ideas from our customers on how we can add features and improve functionality within Revit and within our PowerPack. So there's various different tools that we have in there. One of the sets of tools which I do like is we have this add parameters tool. Now another little top tip as well, when you install the PowerPack, some of these parameters that are in here are actually not activated by default. So a little top tip is when you actually do launch the PowerPack, go into the PowerPack customization, go into edit ribbon. And when you get down to the section for the parameters, which is here, look. So the wall height. So we've got these parameters. You'll find that some of these are actually not ticked. So if you want to activate all of them, yeah, just come in and just tick the remaining boxes. Some of them have been switched off by default. There'll be some really useful tools in there. So it's well worth just coming in and just checking that everything's switched on. Otherwise, when you click on the parameters drop down, that information is missing. A really cool function in here, really cool if you're a structural engineer, but can be quite useful for anyone that's doing any form of columns, beams, walls, floors, foundations, is if I actually click on there to add that information, what we will have is if I now click on this column, you can see here I've actually got the geometric position added into there, and it will add both. So we've got the chords, these are the model coordinates, and the topo chord is the shared coordinates. Now what this has done, this has created some custom parameters. So if I go to manage and I go to my project parameters, you'll actually find in here under G that we've now created these, and it only creates the coordinates that it needs for the tools that you're using, but what that means is they are now schedulable. So if you wanted to do a setting out model for your pile caps or setting out drawing for your columns, we can start to put the exact coordinates of where they are. So there's some nice little functionalities, and within here, just simple things like that, which can save a lot of time, because prior to that, you know, you can put a spot coordinate on an item, but you can't then schedule that spot coordinate. So we tend to find people will put spot coordinates on and then manually copying that information, which obviously is prone to error. It's something that we really don't want to happen. So, you know, that is a really useful tool just to add in them coordinates. There's a whole host of tools in here as well for adding in cable tray reference level, which it doesn't do by default. You know, having the wall thickness. If we add the wall thickness into there, it will create these shared parameters. And now any wall within here has now got the G wall thickness, okay? And believe it or not, although we know what the wall thickness is because it's actually in Revit, we can't schedule that information, okay? So again, these are just adding the little extra functionality that sometimes Revit lacks. Okay, so that is our dimensioning tools that we've got within our PowerPack. So basically, if anyone has got any questions on that, feel free to just use your question box. If you do have any questions that you'd like to ask me relating to our dimension tools that we've got inside the PowerPack, I'll give you a couple of minutes just to see if any questions come in. As I say, you're more than happy to drop me an email as well if you do have any further questions. Oh, excellent. Cool. So thank you for joining me today. So thanks for watching. Do follow us on social media. We do post an awful lot of content out there. We're very active on Twitter and LinkedIn, and very active on Facebook as well. We do have a YouTube channel, so do check in there for some of our other webinars. So again, thanks ever so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you very soon on one of our next webinars.
GRAITEC.